All right, out of two, we're going to be talking about ignition timing today. Ignition timing is when the spark occurs in relationship to the piston coming up at the end of the power stroke. Most cars will run about 10 degrees before top dead center at idle. And then what will happen is as the engine runs faster and faster and faster, we have to make that spark occur earlier. So instead of 10 degrees, we might have as much as 50 or 60 degrees before top dead center. Talk about computer controlled ignition timing in just a moment. First, old school carbureted engine with the distributor back here. You can't see it too well from there, but with the distributor, and I'll go ahead and grab my camera and come on back here. And so with a distributor like this GM HEI with 8 spark plug wires going to our spark plugs, you guys are familiar with this engine. Every teenager's joy when it runs, of course. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take an ignition timing light. I'm going to show you how we hook it up. So I've got 2 leads down here that are connected to the battery. Sorry about that, hope you don't get seasick. So I've got positive and negative on the battery, and that lights the screen up on the timing light. And then I have this inductive lead clipped over a #1 spark plug lead. On the Chevy, driver's side is 1357. This is the front of the engine, so that's driver's side. Passenger side over here is 2468. So let's look at the timing light for just a moment. So what you've got here on the screen is a number of things. This gives us the ability to, first of all, that's battery voltage, but it also gives us the ability to look at what the actual timing is on the screen. This will flash the stroboscope. So what happens is every time #1 spark plug wire fires, it's going to make the timing light flash, and that flash is going to occur down here on the harmonic balancer wheel. There's what we call a timing tab here, and I'll get the camera closer. So the timing tab here, right here, has marks on it, and hopefully you can see it. It says 12, focused for a moment, 12, 8, 4, 0. There they are, 12, 8, 4, 0. So this deep groove is 0 right here. This is 8, this is 12, 10's right in the deep groove there. This engine is supposed to be timed at 10 degrees before top dead center. So what I'm going to do is start the engine, and I'm going to unplug what's called the vacuum advance right now. Leave that unplugged. So you're going to see the timing mark be up here, and I'm going to bring the camera down and show it. And you should see, if it's timed right, it should be in that groove there right at 10 degrees, because this engine is supposed to be timed at 10 degrees. Okay, so let's do that first. Let me start it up. Didn't keep running, did it? Okay, hang on one sec. Doesn't like that retarded timing too much. Okay. All right, all of a sudden it doesn't want to run. Let me get it running, we'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. We had run out of gas for just a second. So let me get it started here. Here we go. So what you're able to see is the white mark on here, which is right now there. That white mark was pointing to about 9 degrees. It wasn't quite on 10. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to come around over here, and I'm going to take a distributor wrench. These funny looking wrenches are made for adjusting distributors. I'm going to go underneath right down to that bolt, And I'm going to loosen that distributor bolt. If I can get on it there. Okay, it's already loose. There we go. So now I can rotate the distributor. It's a little looser than I want, so I'm going to snug it back up just a hair so that it doesn't move. It doesn't want to move and then go back to where it was. So now I can move it just a little bit, okay? So I'm going to start the engine. We'll see where the timing is. I'll hold the camera here. You'll see me adjust this and you'll see it move. So by moving the body of the distributor, I'm going to affect when the spark occurs on number one cylinder. Now we're just looking at number one, but all the others will orient themselves from number one. Let's start the engine. Let's go from there. Let's get this timing light away from that revolving pulley there. Here we go. So what you saw me do was, you saw me check the timing. It was down near 0. You saw me adjust the body of the distributor. It came up to 10 right in that groove right there. And then I went ahead and tightened down this guy here. So this thing's set at 10 degrees. We'll check it one more time. Here we go. Maybe we're at 11 degrees. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to plug in what's called the vacuum advance. We have two ways on a carbureted vehicle, a non-computer controlled vehicle, to advance the timing. We can do it with what's called vacuum advance, which is this can here. We apply vacuum to the engine, and you're going to see the timing go up. So let me start it. Here we go. That mark was way up here, so probably advanced the timing a good 15, 18 degrees. And so that's going to give you a little bit, that's going to give you some better gas mileage and some good advance when you're just cruising around town. There's actually another type of advance inside the distributor called mechanical advance. And what we'll do is I'll go ahead and disconnect the vacuum advance, start the engine, it'll be back at 10. Then I'm going to take the RPM up and you're going to see this line move. There's some weights inside the distributor. They're going to give us some advance based on engine RPM. As we push down the throttle and engine RPM goes up, vacuum advance goes away, so that won't advance the timing like we need, so we have to rely on the mechanical advance. When we're cruising at 40, 50 miles an hour, steady throttle, we get advance from the mechanical weights and advance also from the vacuum. The initial advance that we set when we tighten the distributor plus the mechanical advance, plus the vacuum advance, is known as total advance. Here we go. Saw the advance go from about 10 degrees way up here, so it's probably up another 10, 15 degrees. That was all mechanical advance. Now watch. Now I'm going to plug in the vacuum advance, and I'll start the engine again. It's going to be up here idling because of the 10 degrees initial, the approximately 15 degrees of vacuum, and then when I rev it, it's going to go up even further. Here we go. the range is here. So we've got to have a way of figuring out what the advance actually is. And I should be able to dial up some advance here. I'll show you what I mean. Let me do it first. Okay, so hang on one sec. Okay, out of 2, so what's going to happen on this screen? When I push this function switch here, I can bring up RPM on the right, and I can bring up advance on the left. With these arrows, I can dial up 10 degrees. If this thing is changed to 10 degrees, it changes when this stroboscope flashes. If I put 10 degrees on the screen, it'll make this thing walk back to 0. So I'm going to do that and show you. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rev the engine and then walk this, add on the screen, walk this back to 0, and we'll read the initial advance plus the mechanical. Then I'll hook up the vacuum and I'll add until this walks back to 0, and we'll know what each of them is. Let me show you what I mean. Here we go. Grab this camera, get it in my hand, put the gun in my hand, and we will start the engine. Okay, so what we did was I first put this up to 10. It was just about on zeros, off like 1 degree. And then I went ahead and revved it so the mechanical advance came in and bumped this up, and we had 28 degrees, which is 10 initial, 18 mechanical advance. Then I plugged in the vacuum advance and it went up. When it was at 0, it was 49 degrees. So that means I've got 10 degrees initial timing, 18 degrees mechanical, that's 28. And so I have an additional 21 degrees of vacuum advance. So when I dial this in, it just changes when the light flashes, which makes this line appear back at 0. And the whole purpose of that is just so I can get on the scale to see what I have, because when the mark is way over here, I have no scale and I don't know where I'm at. But if I do everything at 0 and just change on the screen over here, then I know my advance. So again, this is ignition timing. Base timing, or our initial timing, was 10 degrees. Our mechanical advance was about 18 degrees in the distributor. Our vacuum advance was about 21 degrees. And so the net effect is we get something like 49 degrees of total advance. And That's, again, we need to make the spark occur earlier and earlier as the engine spins faster and faster, just to give that, as the piston's coming up on compression, to give more time for the air and fuel to explode, so that when the piston's ready to go down, it's ready to push. All right, there you go.